The New Orleans Saints completed their 2025 NFL draft and made some shocking moves overall. My name's Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we're going to break down the 2025 draft for the New Orleans Saints and give our thoughts. But before we do that, Ryan is getting married here in a couple of weeks. So send him an early wedding present by smashing that subscribe button, leaving a like and a comment. Let us know what you think of the Saints 2025 draft. And Ryan, let's get into it here. So Saints kicked it off going with Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle out of Texas. Ryan, this is a guy that you like. He does have the traits being that left tackle, especially too with the retiring of Ryan Ramczyk as well. And moving on from him, he's going to be a good guy to slot in there and replace. And that was an area too. The offensive line, everybody remembers how great the Saints looked in those first two games, and it really was. I think it was Ramczyk's injury. It was Ramczyk or the center. I'm trying to remember, but a key offensive lineman got hurt in that Philadelphia Eagles Week 3 game, and then next week had another injury, then another, and then that offensive line just got decimated overall. So if you're going to do well in the NFL, you got to have a good offensive line, no matter who the quarterback is. And speaking of quarterback, I would say this was the biggest shock moment of even more than Jackson Dart being drafted over Shedeur Sanders, but Tyler Shough being drafted by the New Orleans Saints over Shedeur Sanders. And turns out a lot of people drafted quarterbacks over Shedeur Sanders. But Saints going there in the second round. Then Vernon Broughton, defensive tackle out of Texas. Then wrapped up day 2 with Jonas Sanker, safety out of Virginia. Then a day 3, Danny Stutsman, linebacker from Oklahoma. Quincy Riley, cornerback from Louisville. Devin Neal, running back from Kansas. Moliki Matavao, tight end out of UCLA. How did I do, Ryan? Was that pretty close?
I actually don't know. I'm not
I'll
gonna
say it's
lie.
pretty good.
I've never heard of this player.
Well, he's now an NFC South member and plays for the New Orleans Saints. And then Fadil Diggs, edge rusher out
I've heard
of
of him.
Syracuse.
Yeah.
So I would say, Ryan, in general, this is going to be one of those. There's already one of those drafts where then even early on we saw like in round 3 and round 4, it definitely guys. Teams, we noticed teams drafting for like traits. I would say like this guy's got a lot of good traits. I think I see some of that here with the Saints draft. So a lot of my grading still has to, in my opinion, in my grade will depend also to just how these guys pan out. I do think it's good value getting Devin Neal at Kansas in the 6th round. I think he's going to be a good guy to complement Alvin Kamara, then potentially be the successor for Alvin Kamara at a very good value overall. There's a couple other guys I think are good, hard football players, but also I will say a couple of picks that I just question a little bit over. Actually, I wouldn't say a couple, really just Tyler Shough in general to me.
Yeah. Well,
I know. Go ahead.
I don't like the Tyler Shough pick. I also don't really like the Vernon Broughton pick. I thought that was a bit of a reach on a defensive tackle, especially when there were other guys on the board that I felt were better. Jonas Sanker, he's a strong safety. I typically, grading wise, I lean towards more free safeties that played more in coverage rather than closer to the box. And so like I didn't really like their day 2 at all. And how I'm weighting these drafts in my eyes is day 1 obviously gets a lot of weight. That's the most important pick. Day 2 gets the majority of what's remaining in the grade, and then day 3 is like you get bonuses I think for good picks. But with that being said, I don't usually, day 3s are flyers. Those are your traits picks. I felt like they were making traits based picks on day 2, and I think that's a bad draft strategy.
Yeah. Well, I noticed some teams ended up doing that. And I think the one thing for me where I feel like they're missing a little bit was in the receiver department. And that's where like they have Chris Olave. They did end up signing Brandon Cooks in free agency. They do have Rashid Shaheed, yes, but I think there were some opportunities there and they ended up going Tyler Shough, obviously. And there's some questions at the quarterback spot, but I still think there's still a bunch of questions at the quarterback spot. We don't know what Derek Carr's outlook's going to look like for 2025. From what I have read, it's not great. I think maybe they're going to roll with Spencer Rattler and see what they've got, and he's going to be starting quarterback. I will say, as of right now, just according to our last recording at the recording of this video, Tyler Shough is ranked ahead of Spencer Rattler when it comes to the depth chart, as of right now. But I think it just we need to know more about Derek Carr. But I also think too, Tyler Shough, he's going to be 26, right?
Yeah, he's already like 25. Like he's one of the oldest quarterback prospects, and so just to like say still on the board here, Alfred Collins was still on the board, uh, which is the better Texas defensive tackle, and that's after the Tyler Shough pick. So they could have gone Alfred Collins at 40, and then instead of taking Vernon Broughton, they could have taken Jalen Milroe, and that would have been a much better order in my opinion. And I
Yeah,
also like those players more than what they got.
yeah. And hindsight's 2020, but they could have gotten Shador Sanders in day 3. I bet
Yeah.
nobody thought that this would have happened, but they still could have gotten that. So I don't know. It's as a Falcons fan, I kind of like the Saints draft, but as a football analyst, it's it's some stuff left to be desired. But hey, they are NFL scouts for a reason, so they obviously saw something overall. Like I will say, not to speak too negative of it, but like Quincy Riley, I think he's going to be a nickel corner.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, he did have a good college career. He's going to be somebody that they could maybe develop, and if they're switching up the defense type a little bit, he could be a guy that could be on the field. Danny Stutsman's a hard nosed linebacker out of Oklahoma. He had a good career there, so he's going to give a lot of good hard minutes. But still, at the end of the day, though, to your point, like in the money making rounds 1 through 3, feel like I feel like their day 2 wasn't the best. Kelvin Banks, I get why they went after Kelvin Banks. I think there's a lot of good things to come out of Kelvin Banks. This wasn't the best tackle class as a whole, so getting him
Yeah.
here at 9, you can make an argument is high relative to past draft classes, but in this one though, I think if you're the Saints, I get why you do that. You need to protect the quarterback, and this guy does have the upside to be a
Yeah.
premier left tackle or even kick in a guard.
Yeah. And that's like I won't fault a team for like the Patriots. The Patriots probably reached slightly on Will Campbell. But there to me, I only had 3 true starting grades on left
Yeah,
tackles in this class, and that was Will Campbell, Armand Mimbu, and Kelvin Banks. It's like after that, there's nothing left in this tackle class. So I don't really fault teams for taking that guy where they did, especially like in the top 10 for a starting caliber tackle. There are not 64 starting caliber tackles in the world, and each team needs 2. So reaching on a guy like that, I don't blame them for. But yeah, the day 2 I think was just really rough for this team, and so I'm going to give them a D plus. I think for this draft, I don't really like the Tyler Shough pick. That really puts a bad taste in my mouth for this draft. The Kelvin Banks pick, I know I just said that. Like that is it's not a home run, it's like a double. Like you got on base, you did good, and I think that is like it's a good pick. It's just not like knocked out of the park. And granted, there wasn't anybody at the top of the draft to really knock it out of the park. After that, I felt like the rest of their day 2 was not what I would have done. And they didn't get a wide receiver. I felt they needed a complimentary wide receiver. I just like this is just one of my lesser liked drafts.
yeah. I would put this at a C. I do think that they got some guys with good traits in day 3. Definitely some things left to be desired in day 2. I think Kelvin Banks has good upside. I get why they made the move overall there in the first round. But definitely is, I think, an area where they are lacking is I do think they need some receiver help overall. And if
Yeah.
I go back here to the New Orleans Saints depth chart, so I mean you have Chris Olave as your number 1, which he's a good number 1, but let's also be honest though too, he missed half the season last year because of concussions, if not half,
Yeah.
close to half.
Yeah.
Rashid Shaheed missed vast majority of the season last year as well. Brandon Cooks was drafted in 2014, so I'm not great at math, but that was 11 years ago. So let's say you get drafted at 21. So 21 plus
Yeah.
11 is 32,
He's
33,
in his early
34.
30s.
It's something
Yeah.
like that. And then if you go look at the people behind that, Bub Means, great name. He had some moments last year. Kevin Austin Jr., Cedric Wilson, Mason Tipton, um, Dante Pettis. Then they signed Velus Jones Jr. out of Carolina in free agency. So it's like not it's like still not too great overall. Chris Olave is great when healthy, but and then now we still question who's going to be throwing the ball to them, and some of that was expected, especially too when Derek Carr got hurt because this was the best quarterback class. So I think there are
Yeah.
some areas where the Saints could have improved on, but we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see how this draft class kind of pans out. And I feel like we're going to be saying that a lot about a lot of draft classes this year.
Yeah. Yeah. But this one in particular, I felt like they didn't follow. I don't necessarily want teams to always follow the consensus board, but we were talking about this today as day 3 was going on. If you just print out the consensus board and you look at the teams that are doing really well, they're making the most amount of picks by the consensus board best player available.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's like, I know these scouting departments do a lot. They're trying to match players up with their scheme, and each individual team is different. But I just felt like the Saints really went against a lot of consensus picks. And I just not in favor of it for that reason. So let's go ahead. Let's wrap up this video here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, leave a comment on what you thought of the Saints 2025 draft class. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you have done differently? And other than that, we'll see you guys next time.